All right. Welcome to our second live. I'm Jennifer Hatton, and this is Fran Stevenson. Actually, she's this direction. Today, we are going to be talking about social media scheduling tools. And this is something we get asked often about. We discuss with clients. We've tried out so many. And so today, we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to work through 4 different things that you should consider when you are looking at getting a social media tool and help you make a good decision. So you ready to go?
Let's go.
All right. So what is our first question that we should ask?
So one of the first questions when we're talking with clients and trying to decide what kind of a tool they need for their practice, we need to look at the content planning cycle. And that is like your area of expertise. So do you want to talk about how to pick a tool based on your planning cycle?
Absolutely. So when you're talking about your planning cycle, do you plan just day to day, like hop on and write something? You shouldn't. No. If you are doing that, you should be taking our course and planning out using an editorial calendar. But thinking about how far in advance, do you lay out your topics for the month and then write your posts a week in advance, 2 weeks in advance? Because that kind of alters your decisions when you're using a planning tool, is how far out you need and to be able to look at it. There's some tools like, for example, Sprout Social, that it's very easy to look at your month content at a glance, at 2 weeks at a glance. So thinking about how your process for creating it and also how far in advance you're planning is really important.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. And the kind of the second half of that is, the other question is, what are your content approvals and what is your review process for content? And so we talk with clients about this all the time, especially if we're setting up their kind of social media practices for the first time, or if they've had a change in, the team members. It's like, who needs to write the content, who is ideating the content. I don't like that word, but it's what came to mind. And then who is sort of putting a second set of eyes, reviewing and approving the content. And that could change the type of tool you use. Some have really great processes for putting all the content in draft and then letting another person come along and review and approve it. Sprout Social has that, in spades for sure. But also Social Pilot, which we use, that has a good review and approval mechanism, and many of the others do too. But, we also have clients who they do all of that content planning, writing, planning, link to the image or link to the story you're going to talk about or link to the video. And they do it all offline on a spreadsheet. So the reviews and approvals are done before you use the tool. So then maybe you don't need that feature. Right. So it kind of depends on the process that your organization has. And some have, simpler processes and some have more steps. But then there's a third question we want to ask, right? And that is, who's using the tools?
So this one is definitely something to think about, because most of the different tools charge by users. So you really want to think about who is actually using and scheduling, who is monitoring, who is doing what on your channels. So there are some where you have a small team, but somebody just wants in so they can see and peek, but they don't actually schedule. And there are some that allow you to just have extra seats or people you can send it to review. And there's some where every single user you get charged for. We have some clients that have 2 people that run their channels, and like Fran mentioned, everything is done like on an Excel sheet. They have an editorial calendar. Yeah. The themes are picked. Everything is, the topics are approved, and then the team just writes. Then we have others where they actually write out all of the posts, and the client reviews those ahead of time. Any changes are made on that Excel spreadsheet. So then just our 2-person team is cutting and pasting and scheduling them out and monitoring within the tool. And then we have others where they have 14 channels and we have 5 different people that help run the different channels. And so everything is written, that one, the themes are approved and the things are written inside. Somebody approves within the tool, and all the monitoring is done within the tool as well. So having whether you're going to monitor within the tool or not is important, because that has to do with whether you need an inbox or not.
True, because honestly, the inbox, a really good inbox, is a real advanced feature. And a lot of the tools that our smaller clients pick, there's not a really robust inbox, but that's okay, because somebody else might have eyes on the channels, physical eyes on the channels each day while they're working. But if you have a big ecosystem like the 14 channels, you need it all in one place. Otherwise, you're going to go crazy skipping around trying to see, when you're getting messages and things. So that's a really good point about the monitoring in the inbox that we didn't talk about. But, and I think really the biggest question for a lot of people is reporting. In the beginning, like even 5-6 years ago, so few tools had any robust reporting at all. It was like, I don't know if people didn't want it, or it was too hard, or the APIs, I'm not really sure, but we've seen reporting become more and more sophisticated. So I think deciding what you think you need to be for the tool to aggregate and push to you in a really pretty report or in a handy, CSV download is important. The best reporting out there for your money used to be Sprout Social, and but it's becoming such a pricey tool. It's a really hard one for smaller businesses to do, and we are seeing some of the other tools are coming up with a little better reporting, so you can get some good basics on your engagement, your reach, your impressions, when your fans, you have fan growth or shrinkage. So deciding what you want on reporting is really, really important. And honestly, might be one of the first questions you start with before you select a tool, right? But yeah, so I think too, what you said earlier about who's using the tools, the combination is often, it's almost a math formula. It's like how many users you have, but also a lot of the tools max how many channels you can put. So, if you have 14 channels on something, then you might want a larger tool that gives you that bandwidth. Whereas, a lot of smaller businesses, they'll have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So they'll have the 3 channels, but they might have 1 or 2 people working on them. So it's kind of it's an apples and oranges thing sometimes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There are definitely trade-offs, like trying to figure out the number of channels that you have, how many people need access to them, right, and balancing, like you said, the reporting really is a good question to start out with. I mean, I know like you and I both love data, but if it's not really super important to your client and you just need basics, do you really want to spend that extra money a month? But then you have others that do need that beautiful glossy report for a board, or, especially like our nonprofit clients, where if it's something that you need to do often, it might be worth paying for the tool. Right. Or if it's something you do once a year, it might be worth it to you to use a less expensive tool and then just data gather yourself.
Right, exactly. And of course, we always figure out hacks and workarounds for every scenario, whether, I think the key is to get a tool that works for you most of the time. And then with the things that aren't quite so good, you can find some kind of a workaround to get what you need for reporting, or, that kind of thing. And honestly, I think the thing we want to leave everybody with is, you might like a tool today and you could fall out of love with it next week because it changes, or it's not working, or they increase the price, or now their API isn't working with, this channel or that channel. And so we always start with a new client by doing a tool comparison review to find out what's right for them. And because of that, we developed this pretty cool tool comparison chart, and we compare the small to mid-level tools for people who are entrepreneurs, or, it's really for small business trying to decide if I've been scheduling things live on Facebook or native on Twitter, and you really want a scheduling tool, then we've compared side by side all of the features and benefits and given you the average prices, keeping in mind the prices change whenever they change. But we have it now as a free download for our clients, and also for future clients, or people taking our course, Mastering Your Brand on Social Media. So we're going to give you the link to get that chart in the comments here at the end of the Facebook Live. And we'd love to hear in the comments what your tool choice is and why, because we try and update this tool chart a couple times a year. So let us know what you like. And thanks for tuning in today.
Yep, we always want to hear about new ones to check out or try out because, as you said, like personal preference comes into it as well. There's certain ones that really popular ones that people like that I know personally, they don't work for my brain, how my brain works. And
True.
So just being able to see what other people are using and trying out new things is always fun.
Yeah, cool. All right.
Thank y'all for tuning in.
Okay, see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.